up. And the prophet said that's the cause of all of this outlawry, because our people do not know. Most of them are ignorant. But then he turned around and tells us that our leaders, our so-called leaders, and are very important. Just like I say, the prophet, he was something that's very important. He said, our leaders and our historians. They got us all jacked up, too. Our historians are not even teaching us our proper history. And we know if you don't know your story, your own history, you're going to stay a mental slave to somebody else. And a spiritual slave is that, even worse. Even worse. But the prophet says our leaders and historians, they either believe it or they fake it, meaning pretend. Or they pretended to believe. And that's detriment to the race. That's a detriment. Look at our people. If our leaders and historians are really doing these things, you can see why our race is suffering. Because our own leaders are leading us down the path to destruction. Getting up before us and telling us lies. The prophet says our leaders, or as our leaders and historians believe or pretend to believe. The greatest sin and evil which Negroes suffer is their insane justice. One cannot stand to see the other prosper. How many times have we, our sheikhs and our imams, how many times have they got to tell us that? I guess
Until we get it.
Innumerable. Infinitely. Because our people still don't have it yet. They still haven't got it yet. They still haven't got it yet. We still don't want to see ourselves advance. Imagine that. That's insane. That's insane for people don't want to see somebody of his own race do well. Don't want to see his own kind do well. And the prophet once again penned it perfectly. He said insane. He said these Negroes are insanely jealous. And they are. And they are. He says you should join the Church of the Hamites and read your own holy books and carry your heads high like other nations, because you were created of God, gods and goddesses, and you made man in your own image and likeness. Because Ham, Africa, is the father, Amun, of it all. Of it all. Know that, black people. Know that. Know that. And everything else just stands aside. For if you know that and believe it and understand it, Adam is Tun. Adam is Atun. Adam is autumn, the setting sun of the year and fall. Mentu is a Menti, the rising sun in the spring, also called Easter or Eve or Hathor. Since we have become mentally and spiritually sick in mind, once again, since we have become mentally and spiritually sick in the mind, from the philosophy and doctrines of other nations, they now make the mistake of trying to civilize us with clubs, with guns, with knives, with jail time, with nooses, with tar and feathers, instead of the right kind of books. They done gave us everything that we don't need. But yet we still march on Washington. We still march on Jeff City to the very people who has given us this voice. We still run to him to say, help me out, Mr. Washington. Not yet. Not yet. Rioting and beating and downright sadism stems directly from the illiterate masses in all races and nations. White folks don't know either. Mexicans don't know. Spaniards don't know. Not the masses. Not the masses. In order to stop this disorder among the African Americans and European Americans, support us as citizens of America through a complete educational system of our own that will teach us the traditions and heritage from the Ethiopians and Egyptians, our noble ancestors who graced the land of Africa, the land of Ham. The heritage of a people and those of his ancestors who led them and taught them to lead themselves. This is what we are trying to duplicate. As a matter of fact, we're trying to do it better than the early ones. We are the first ones who have come again, but we're going to do it even better than they do, because our prophet teaches us to increase in knowledge. We're going to make it even better than they did. We're going to do it even better than they did. We're going to increase the knowledge that they started. The first chapter of Genesis and other chapters, let me read that again. The first chapter in Genesis and other places in the second chapter of Genesis, with the exception of a few verses in the New Testament, is today's so-called Negro people's traditions and heritage. The first chapter in Genesis and a little bit of the second chapter and a little bit in the New Testament. Just study that. That's all you got to study really in the Holy Bible. You can study some more. But that there, it really gives you the history of our people. Back in the days when we were gods and goddesses, and not Negroes and colors and things like that, like we are today. But if you read that first chapter, if you read it with understanding, hey, there you go. But you have to have understanding when you read that first chapter.
I'm doing.
When we learn and know the truth, and learn the secret powers of the universe, and develop the unfoldment of our inner powers, meaning our soul forces, we too will show our light shining out bright. Soul force is the greatest power in the world whenever any group learns how to apply and use that force. Soul force is the greatest power in the world Who is he talking to again? He's talking to our people or any other nation who's getting stepped on by somebody else. As long as you keep following them, your people will remain in mental slavery or in menial jobs or can't get the proper education. Families broke up. All of these things are the result of studying and going by other people's holy books. Many of the Pharaoh were good, kind, and holy men. Some were bad, but we must not emulate the bad ones. Please don't do that. And many Hebrews rose to greatness under these good Pharaohs. They don't talk about that in the church. They don't talk about the good Pharaoh. All you hear about is Ramses. You think Ramses was the only Pharaoh ever existed. He was more than one Ramses. So, there are many good men and women, even among your enemies and oppressors. For Allah rules over the hearts of men. They are good in here. Everybody's not bad now. Everybody, there's even some good white folks. Everybody is not bad. God rules over the hearts of men.
God.
Genesis chapter 6 verse 4 says, there were giants in the earth in those days. And also after that, when the sons of Allah came unto the daughters of men, and they bare them children, the same became mighty men, which were of old men of renown. Which means that these sons of their fathers, the gods, became children of fame. Became children of fame. Our sons, our daughters, that are men. Now, not us per se, but us. Because we are the fathers. It was our sons who went unto the daughters of men. It was our sons who went unto the daughters of men. Because we the fathers now, we the Hamites. We the Hamites. They Hamites too. But remember, we the first ones. It was our sons who went unto the daughters of men. And got all this started.